Please repeat. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha nanda gopa kumaraya govindaya namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Prabhujis and Matajis. Last week we discussed the chapter was titled Fundamentals, Principles of Material Nature. Last week. And this week's chapter is titled Understanding Material Nature. You may recall when we discussed chapter number 25, Mata Devhuti had 3 questions. And she asked about Bhakti, she asked about Gyan, and she also asked about the yoga. What kind of different yogas are there? Yogo Bhagavad Bhana. And then she asked about the Tattva. So normally Tattva is people who are following the Gyan mark, the path of knowledge. And their focus is on understanding the difference between Prakriti and Purush, the nature and the soul, Jeev and Prakriti. That is the focus. So they want to understand their difference. And on the basis of that knowledge, they strive to achieve liberation. That is Gyan, knowledge. And the other one is Bhakti Marg. In Bhakti Marg, Bhagavan Kapil Dev explained to Mother Devhuti, they develop love for the Supreme Lord, they get asakti, they are performing, then they get to stage where they are performing spontaneous loving devotional service, all those angas of bhaktis. But the ultimate goal is you achieve that spontaneous love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and just by the strength of that love, Jaryati Ashu Ya Kosha, right? The subtle body gets destroyed by the force of that pure devotional service. The subtle body gets destroyed, and the example given is as we eat the food, the digestive fire burns the food. Similarly, the subtle body gets destroyed by the pure devotional service. That's what Bhagavan Kapil Dev did. And then he is talking about Gyan, how the knowledge. And like I said, the basis of their knowledge is, or the principle is, they try to establish difference between Prakriti and Purush. And that's where the analysis of the fundamental principles of creation comes. So that's what we discussed last time. Bhagavan Kapil Dev has explained the fundamental principles. Now in today's chapter, he is going to talk about how people on the knowledge path, they achieve liberation. So he's already spoken about how the liberation is attained by people who are on the mark of devotional service, on the path of devotional service. Now he's going to talk about how people, what kind of sadhana people perform who are on the knowledge path, Gnan mark, how they achieve liberation and what kind of sadhana they perform. And in the next chapter, he will talk about Ashtanga yogis, what kind of sadhana they perform to achieve liberation. So 3 questions were asked by Mata Devhuti. So he's already answered one, and second one, half answered last week, and the remaining half will be answered today, because last week we discussed the fundamental principles of the material nature. Okay. So today's chapter, so let's take this verse and then we'll discuss further. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Madbhakta Pratibudhyartho. Madbhakta Pratibudhyartho. Mat prasadena bhuyasa. Mat prasadena bhuyasa. Nishreyasam samsthanam. Nishreyasam swasamsthanam. Kaival akhyam madashrayam. Kaivalyakyam madashrayam. Prapnoti iha anjasa dhira. Prapnoti anjasa dhira. Actually, in the English translation, the iha word is missing. Yeah. So in the Sanskrit, iha is there. Iha means in this world. Prapnoti iha anjasa dhira. Swadrashat chinna samsaya. Swadrashat chinna samsaya. Yadgatva na nivarteta. Yadgatva na nivarteta. Yogi lingat vinirgame. Yogi lingat vinirgame. 28 and 29. These are two verses together. 3, 7, 28 and 29. Okay. Word by word translation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Please repeat. Mad Bhakta. My devotee. Prati Buddhartha. Self-realized. Mad Prasadena. By my causeless mercy. Bhuyasa. Unlimited. Nishreyasam. The ultimate perfectional goal. Swasamsthanam. His abode. Kaivalya Akhyam. Called Kaivalya. Mad Ashrayam. Under my protection. Prapnoti. Attains. Iha. In this life. Anjasa. Truly. Dhira. Steady. Swadrasha. By knowledge of the self. Chinna samshaya. Freed from doubts. Yat. To that abode. Gatva. Having gone. Na. Never. Nivarteta. Comes back. Yogi. The mystic devotee. Lingat. From the subtle and gross material bodies. Vinirgame. After departing. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Please repeat. My devotee actually becomes self-realized by my unlimited causeless mercy, and thus when freed from all doubts, he steadily progresses towards his destined abode, which is directly under the protection of my spiritual energy of unadulterated bliss. That is the ultimate perfectional goal of the living entity. After giving up the present material body, the mystic devotee goes to that transcendental abode and never comes back. So you understand the translation? What Bhagavan Kapil Dev is saying here is, let's please focus. So Bhagavan is saying, my devotee, even if you are on the Gyan Marg, you have to be a devotee. And this chapter will reveal a lot of concepts. Very often people think Gyan Marg means they're just reading the scriptures, they're doing the discrimination. No. Even they have to be devotee of the Supreme Lord. Bhakti is always there in all the marks. So the first starting point Bhagavan Krishna is saying is, and Gyan Marg, what is their destination? Their understanding of liberation is Brahma Jyoti, merging in the effulgence. Yeah. So as you go out of these material planets, material universes, when you are in the spiritual abode, on the other side of the Vraja river, there are millions and millions of spiritual planets. And underneath those planets is called Brahma Jyoti, effulgence of those planets. So some devotees, some living entities, they want to go to Vaikuntha planets, they go to Vaikuntha planets. Who wants to go to Golok planets, they go to Golok planet, not planets, planet. Right? And who wants to merge into the Brahma Jyoti, they go there. So that's what Bhagavan is saying here. Kaivalya Akhyam. So this is the Gyan Marg, right? So once again, our focus is, right, what is the focus? What are we saying? This chapter is talking about the sadhana performed by Gnan Margi devotees to achieve liberation. And in this verse, the Supreme Lord is concluding. And in the conclusion, he is saying that even after they perform all the austerities, all the activities of Gnan Sadhana, but they are my Bhakta, Mad Bhakta. They are my devotee. Right? Pratibuddhyartho. After understanding, right? They self-realize. They become self-realized. How? Mat prasadena bhuyasa. Bhuyasa means unlimited. Again and again. By my unlimited mercy, my devotees, they become self-realized. So there is nothing possible on your own. Bhagavad Kripa. Without Bhagavad Kripa, there is nothing going to happen. No matter how many efforts you put in. You have to have His mercy. And this is Supreme Lord speaking Himself. Mad prasadena, mad bhakta, mad ashrayam. By His. Right? And then He says, they go to swasamsthanam, which nishreyasam, which is ultimate benefit for them, because that's ultimate beneficial for them. That's what they want. Krishna doesn't interfere. They have that inclination. And it is natural. Let's not even think about comparison, why we are different. This is natural. Every living entity. In the future chapters, Bhagavan Kapil Dev will tell Mother Devuti, there are as many type of devotional service, as many jivas are there. Bhakti yogo bahuvidho marger bhamini bhavyate. Swabhava guna margena bhakti yogo vibhidyate. As per your swabhav, as per your guna, your path will be different. Even children, husband, wife, brothers, no, everyone, every living entity has their own path. Bhakti yogo vibhidyate. Yeah. So Bhagavan is saying, my devotees, they become self-realized due to my unlimited mercy. After becoming self-realized, nishreyasam swasamsthanam. Swa is their own desired destination, which is most beneficial for them. And that is called Kaivalya Akhyam Madashray. Once again, under my protection. Kaivalya means Brahma Jyoti, merging in the Brahma Jyoti. That's what Kaivalya is called. Yeah. So that happens, and then the Supreme Lord says, Prapnoti iha anjasa. Iha means in this life itself. Prapnoti, they attain that. After doing what? Swadarshanat chinna samshaya. All their doubts are cleared. Through self-realization, all their doubts are cleared. And yad gatvan nivartet. By going to that about my dear mother, they don't come back. They don't come back. Right? Because their subtle body and gross material body, actually linga, it refers to subtle body. No. Yeah. Lingat, vinirgame. When the subtle body gets destroyed, they go back. And what is subtle body made up of? Yeah, mind, intelligence, false ego, and chitta, consciousness. These four things. So that gets destroyed because soul is covered by this. Soul is covered by this. Yeah. So that's what Bhagavan Kapil is. Now you understand the meaning. One Prabhu and one Mataji. Please recite the verse. There are two verses. Maybe one Prabhu recites 28, another Prabhu recites 29, one Mataji 28, one Mataji 29. Okay, please. Yes, please, Prabhu.
Madbhakta pratibuddharthi.
Madbhakta pratibuddhartho.
Prasadena bhuyasa.
Madprasadena bhuyasa.
Nishreyasam swasamsthanam.
Nishreyasam swasamsthanam.
Kaivalyakyam madashrayam.
Kaivalyakyam madashrayam. Yes, another Prabhu. Please, there is no. Try, Prabhu. Try. Pavan, Prabhu, try.
Prapnoti anjasadiraha.
Prapnoti yeh anjasadhira.
Swadrishachina samasaya.
Swadrishachinna samsaya.
Yadgatvana nivarteta.
Yadgatvana nivarteta. Yogi linga vinirgame. Mataji. Madbhakta pratibuddhartho. Madprasadena bhuyasa. Nishreyasam swasamsthanam. Kaivalyakyam madashrayam. One more, Mataji. Prapnoti iha anjasa dhira. Swadrisha chinna samsaya. Yadgatvana nivarteta. Yogi linga vinirgame. Okay, purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Please hear. Actual self-realization means becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. The existence of a devotee implies the function of devotion and the object of devotion. Self-realization ultimately means to understand the personality of Godhead and the living entities to know the individual self and the reciprocal exchange of loving service between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity is real self-realization. By the way, in all these purports, Srila Prabhupada has stress on the devotional. When you read these purports, you will think he is talking about Bhakti Yoga. But Prabhupada has twisted or given a, he implies that all of these should lead to the Bhakti Marg. So please don't be confused. Yeah. This cannot be attained by the impersonalist or other transcendentalists. They cannot understand the science of devotional service. So he's referring to what impersonalists are referring to, right? What they are looking for. Devotional service is revealed to the pure devotee by the unlimited causeless mercy of the Lord. This is especially spoken of here by the Lord Mat Prasadena, by my special grace. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Only those who engage in devotional service with love and faith receive the necessary intelligence from the Supreme Personality of Godhead so that gradually and progressively they can advance to the abode of the Personality of Godhead. Nishreyasa means the ultimate destination. Swasamsthan indicates that the impersonalists have no particular place to stay. The impersonalists sacrifice their individuality so that the living spark can merge into the impersonal effulgence emanating from the transcendental body of the Lord. But the devotee has a specific abode. The planets rest in the sunshine, but the sunshine itself has no particular resting place. So he's indirectly referring they go and live in the sunshine as opposed to going on the sun planet. Right? When one reaches a particular planet, then he has a resting place. The spiritual sky, which is known as Kaivalya, is simply blissful light on all sides, and it is under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 14.27, Brahmano hi pratishtha aham. Yes, Brahman is also I am. Brahman comes from me. The impersonal Brahman effulgence rests on the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, the bodily effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Kaivalya or impersonal Brahman. In that impersonal effulgence, there are spiritual planets which are known as Vaikunthas, chief of which is Krishna Loka. Some devotees are elevated to the Vaikuntha planets and some are elevated to planet Krishna Loka, according to the desire of the particular devotee. He is offered a particular abode which is known as Swasamsthan, his desired destination. By the grace of the Lord, the self-realized devotee engaged in devotional service understands his destination even while in the material body. He therefore performs his devotional activities steadily without doubting, and after quitting his material body, he at once reaches the destination for which he has prepared himself. So, very important point Prabhupada highlights here, that he performs his devotional service steadily. And the self-realized devotee engaged devotional service, his destination even while in the material body. What that means is, even in this material body, you know where you want to go. You have a goal in mind, and then accordingly you engage yourself in a service. Some people say, Prabhu, we will do bhakti when Lord desires. When Lord we say, just go around. So goal has to be there. Right? It's like an envelope without an address. Where will it go? It comes to your house, you put, what do you write on the letter which does not belong to you? What do you write? RTS. Return to sender. Right? Return to sender, return to sender, return to sender, because there is no destination. So that is like an envelope without an address. So we have to have a goal. And according to that goal, we perform your activities. Very simple. You want to study in IT, you prepare for IIT. You want to become engineer, you study for engineering. Similarly, you want what type of service, you accordingly make your effort. You want to study Bhagavatam, that's why you are here. You want to glorify Supreme Lord, that's why you are here. So you have a goal. So that's a very important point. In this life itself, that's why Bhagavan is saying, Prapnoti iha anjasa, in this life. Because you have known your goal, now you are working towards it. Indirectly, you have achieved it. Okay, while you are in this body. He therefore performs his devotional activity steadily without doubting, and after quitting his chinna samshaya, all the doubts are cut. Chin means cut. No doubt there, right? Without doubt. He reaches the destination for which he has prepared himself. After reaching that abode, he never comes back to this material world. The words lingad vinirgame, which are used here, means after being freed from the two kinds of material bodies, subtle and gross. The subtle body is made up of mind, intelligence, false ego, and contaminated consciousness. Contaminated. As long as you have a subtle body, that means your consciousness is contaminated, not pure consciousness. And the gross body is made up of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. When one is transferred to the spiritual world, he gives up both the subtle and gross bodies of this material world. He enters the spiritual sky in his pure spiritual body and is stationed in one of the spiritual planets. Although the impersonalists also reach that spiritual sky after giving up the subtle and gross bodies, they are not placed in the spiritual planets. As they desire, they are allowed to merge in the spiritual effulgence emanating from the transcendental body of the Lord. Sometimes these kind of feelings also come out of frustration. We think, what is the point? We want to just merge. All is useless. All sab bekar hai. All everything is maya. This and that. We get frustrated sometimes. Out of frustration. It's like people sometimes commit suicide. Oh, I'm frustrated of this life. This world is nonsense. I'm leaving this. So people have their own thoughts. Yeah. When one is transferred to the spiritual body, he gives up the subtle and gross bodies. He enters the spiritual sky in his pure spiritual body and is stationed in one of the spiritual planets. Right? The word samsthanam is significant. As a living entity prepares himself, so he attains his abode. The impersonal Brahman effulgence is offered to the impersonalists, but those who want to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his transcendental form as Narayan in the Vaikunthas or with Krishna in Krishna Loka go to these abodes wherefrom they never return. Srila Bhaktivedanta purports ki? Okay, let's do Mangalacharan and then we will discuss further. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanyam Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamlam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitantam Sajivam Savadetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhuter Mahadbhir Yaima puro vibho nirmayashete yadamosha purusha bhunte gunansho dashasho dashatmakam solanka srishta bhagavan vachamsi me Shri Krishna Sharanam Sharanagatam Katha Amritam Satata Pibatam Bhakti Vedanta Marga Panthanam Sarvaloka Rishi Dev Janma Prasanam Sarvaloka Rishi Dev Janma Prasanam. Hare Krishna Prabhujis and Mataji. May the Supreme Lord decorate my tongue. May the right words come at the right time. May we are truly able to glorify the Supreme Lord, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, and serve all the living entities. Hare Krishna. So, last week we discussed a very important concept. And if you don't mind, I want to, how do I share this? I think people on Zoom needs to see that as well. So we'll quickly cover that. Not enough RAM, so it's a bit scared. It gets a bit slow. Anyway, so you must have been bored by now. One devotee told me, Prabhu, yes, I'm bored. I've heard this so many times. I remember this now. I said, very good. If you remember this, your chances of going back are better now. Please pray for us that Krishna, they are not able to remember. Please take them, help them also. But this is very important. I just want to understand so that that verse we discussed last time. Bhagavan Krishna in Bhagavad Gita saying, Prakriti kriyamanani guna karmani sarvasya ahankar vimudhatma karta ahamiti manya. So what it means is 3.27 Bhagavad Gita. What Lord Krishna is saying is that Prakriti kriyamana. Everything is happening under the influence of the modes of material nature. Right? But ahankar vimudhatma, bewildered by the false ego, the living entity thinks, I am the doer. That's all. That's sum and substance of understanding. So we discuss how Prakriti is operating. So first, as you can see on this screen, you by now you remember, which is good. So first came Pradhan, the universe that came out of the Mahavishnu's body. It had everything, and it is called Pradhan because it has everything in it. When the Supreme Lord looked at it, he impregnated, and then it became Hiranmaya. And then a great effulgence was coming out of that because it has been impregnated by Supreme Lord's personal energy. And the analogy given is how when a sun sets, the darkness engulfs the sun. Similarly, when the sun rises, the same darkness is engulfed by the sun's brightness. Yeah. As the Supreme Lord looked at it, he impregnated it with all the jivas into that universe. Right? And then they are still in the pure state. That's what is called Mahattat. You can see Mahattat. So Pradhan, now it has become Mahattat because it is in the pure state. The consciousness is pure. The guna, the karmas, it hasn't been entered. When Supreme Lord enters himself with guna, karma and kal into the universe, then it will start getting, because then the living entities, they will be assigned. But for right up to this point, pure living souls, they have been impregnated into that, right? Now that universe, in that there are 24 elements. So it is Mahat Tattva, first of all, still in an undifferentiated state. And the example I gave is, it is like milk. Milk has yogurt, milk has gulab jamun, milk has everything in it, but it is in the milk state, right? Undifferentiated state. Now, as it has been impregnated, it is pure. But now slowly, ahankar, the false ego, starts manifesting. So this is where Prabhupada highlights that you could be in a pure state now, but very soon false ego can attack you. That is why we have to be alert all the time. It was in the pure state, but this is the nature, Prakriti. Still, Jiva hasn't done anything. So at the end of this, what I want you to understand is, the living entity is not doing anything. It is all done by the Prakriti. And why Krishna spoke that verse. Okay. So this is all still nature. Now, ahankar, false ego manifests. The first symptoms are goodness, mode of goodness, then mode of passion, and then the false ego comes. Then it is divided into 3 subparts: goodness, passion, and ignorance. It is still inside that universe, if you visualize that. Now, from that false ego, the various elements of creation starts coming out. From the mode of goodness comes mind. Actually, it starts from other side. It starts from mode of ignorance first. From the mode of ignorance, which is on the right hand side on your screen. From that comes 5 gross elements and 5 tanmatras. And they are on the right hand side. In that you can see. So sound, from sound came ether, the sky. Right? From touch came air. Then from air came form, from form came fire. Right? Then from fire came taste, from taste came water. Yeah? And then came smell, and then earth. 5 gross elements and 5 object of the senses. They came out. Came out in the sense, now the differentiation is happening still within that universe. Earlier, everything was mixed up. Now differentiation is happening. It's like you are trying to make, let's say, Matar paneer or aloo paneer. So, but aloo is here, paneer is here, spices are here. Like this, different ingredients are being prepared. They are not mixed as yet. Okay. Then from mode of passion comes 10 senses. 5 knowledge acquiring senses, 5 working senses. And also comes intelligence, buddhi, from mode of passion. And then from mode of goodness comes mind. Right? So how many elements are here now? 10, 5, 5, 10, then 20, then 21 intelligence, 22 mind, false ego 23, and then Mahat Tattva.
5 tanmatras and 5 gross is 10, plus 10 senses 20, plus
20.
21, plus intellect.
Intelligence, false ego, and Chetana.
Intelligence is not formed.
Intelligence is under the senses. You might not be able to see it. See from mode of passion. Right? 4 elements. Man, buddhi, ahankarascha, chittam iti antar atmakam. The 4 things. So 20 and 24. Right? And Bhagavan says the intelligent people have called these as 24 elements. So they are, earlier they were there, 24 elements. Now they have manifested, still in an undifferentiated state. There is no reaction. Now Supreme Lord enters inside that. He enters inside that himself with karma, kal, and gun. As he enters inside that, a Virat Sharir is formed. That takes the form of a Virat. Up to that point we came. Now I go back to that point about how the Prakriti is doing all the things. That's the concept I want you to understand, and the position of Jiva, the living entity. So example we took last time is, let's say, if you want to eat gulab jamun, If you want to eat gulab jamun, first of all, how did you realize that you want to eat gulab jamun? Because you had tasted it before. The taste. Is taste a product of material energy? You can see on the screen. Taste is material energy. Not jiva is not doing anything. Are you with me? So it's still prakriti. Okay. Maybe before that, the desire, you had a taste and desire came in your mind. Mind is the storehouse of desires. Desire came in your mind. You want to eat gulab jamun. Why you want to eat gulab jamun? Because you had tasted it before. And you had an impression in your consciousness how gulab jamun looks, how it tastes. Yes? And then you thought, what do I do? How do I get a gulab jamun? Then you go to someone who can prepare gulab jamun. You request them to prepare gulab jamun. Then they prepare gulab jamun. How do they prepare gulab jamun? Milk, sugar, fire, water, other ingredients, they are all material, right? From matter, gross elements. Now the person who is making, how he is making? Through intelligence. Intelligence is material. Jiva is still not doing here anything, right? Through the intelligence, you prepared the gulab jamun, right? Now because you had an impression, you got the gulab jamun, you ate one gulab jamun. You like the taste. You like the taste, you want another gulab jamun. How do you get another gulab jamun? You use your intelligence. Who can I go to and ask for one more? Maybe Kripal Prabhuji, his name is Kripal. He's very Kripalu. He can be merciful. Maybe I ask him. Intelligence, right? Intelligence is material. Jiva is still not doing anything, right? Then you go and get another gulab jamun. You taste it, you eat it, it goes into your body, right? It dissolves into your body. You get energy. Pranendriya is not highlighted here, but Pranendriya is also produced from mode of fashion. It sits in the, you can say it's part of those 10 senses, but it's not called separate element. You can count it, but understand that. You get Pranendriya, body digested, you get energy, body is walking around, everything. Now what Jiva has done in this? This is all material now. Material, Prakriti. That's why Krishna says Prakriti is doing everything. So the Jiva has done only one thing. The Jiva has desires. Because Jiva has desires, because of the desires, the living entity is coming here. Because we wanted to enjoy separate from Krishna. And the material nature, mother nature, makes that arrangement for Jiva to enjoy, for the living entity to enjoy. That's the underlying fundamental, if you want to understand it. Yeah. So there is no jivas here. But because Jiva desired, because of the desire, he had a desire to enjoy separate from Krishna. Yeah. Now we go to today's chapter. I just wanted to make sure that we understand this concept. This is a very important concept. Yeah. Why Prakriti? Why not someone else? Yeah. My computer is very slow. So these are the various body parts, which we went through last time. We'll skip today. And what is today's chapter is called Understanding Material Nature. Right? Prakriti, Hindi, the Hindi translation of this says is Prakriti Purush ke vivek se moksha prapti ka varnan. Prakriti Purush ke vivek. Vivek means discrimination. Discrimination between Mother Nature and Purush, the living entity, and achieve liberation through that understanding. Through this process, you know that these are the material elements. What am I doing as a Jiva? That's how Gnani, the people who are in the Gyan mark, that's how they try to understand. They realize, what is my position? What am I doing? As a soul, as a Jiva, I'm not doing anything. You building house, you doing everything is done by Prakriti. You only have desire. And for that, the solution is Prabhupada says we have to purify our desire. That is the only thing that you can do as a living entity. And to purify your desire, the dust from the consciousness has to be cleared up. That's all. Those impressions have to be cleared because of contaminated consciousness. Cheto darpan marjanam bhav mahadavagni nirvapan. That is why Bhagavan Kapil Dev says, Cheta khalo asya bandhaya muktaya cha atmanomatam. Chetana is the reason for binding. Chetana, people say mind, because mind is desire. Because of desire, you get those impressions, right? So desire is the starting point, but ultimately it is the consciousness. The whole effort is what we try to do is the consciousness. In the 12th canto, when Sud Goswami concludes Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, he repeats this concept again. Sankirtamano Bhagavan Ananta Shrutanubhavo Vesnam hi pumsam Pravishya Chitte Vidunoti Shesham Yatha Tamo Arko Brahmi Iva Attivata. So what he's saying is that Sankirtamano Bhagavan Ananta, that Supreme Lord who is Anant, unlimited, his glorification, Sankirtan, that like we are doing now, not in isolation, Sankirtan. You know, Jnanis, they suffer a lot. One Jnani, he's sitting in isolation, he's meditating on something, his mind has run, no matter, the mind has, within 1 second, the mind will take him around the globe and come back. So for them, the risk is very high. Their path is compared to walking on an edge of a sword. Gnan panth kripan ki dhar parat khages lage nahi bar. Kag Bhushundi is telling Khagesh to Garudji that Gyan Panth is like walking on an edge of a sword. Who will walk on an edge of a sword? Walking itself is like killing or hurting yourself. And what you will do? You will try to avoid the pains and then you will fall off. And in Kali Yuga, it's very difficult. That is why Sankirtan, in association of devotees. Even if your mind is not going anywhere else, at least you are trying to pull it back. Or at least you will say, if I do something else, what he will say. At least I should bring my mind back. So this is the benefit of satsang. You know, once somebody was going to Ganges to take a dip during Kumbh Snan. Kumbh Snan, you know, it comes in 12 years. And there are lakhs and lakhs of people come. This devotee went for a Kumbh Snan and seeing the crowd, he got bewildered. He said, I might go back. As he turned back, he could not go back. So much crowd. So crowd pulled him to Ganges. He had to take a dip anyway. He could not come back. This is the importance of satsang. Even if you decide to go back, even now you must be getting calls from Banwari Prabhu. Prabhu, where are you? You are not coming. Right? Right? So you ask each other, Prabhu, where are you? I haven't seen you for a while. So this is satsang. We involve each other. Right? So Sankirta Mano Bhagavan Ananta Shrutanubhavo Vyasnam hi pumsam. Shruta, hearing, with anu, again and again, bhav, with full mood. Vyasnam, our all the desires, all the sinful desires to enjoy, to lord over the material nature. Vidunoti shesham, they get cleaned away. Ashesham means zero. Ashesh matlab nothing is shesh. Nothing is left over. How? Pravishya chitte. When you are chanting the holy names, the Supreme Lord enters your consciousness through this process. And how he cleans up? Yatha tamo arko. Ark as in sun. As the sun comes out, the darkness goes away. Jaha hoye surya taha. Jaha hoye surya taha nahi mayara adhikar. Krishna hoye surya sam maya andhakar. Krishna is like sun, Maya is like andhakar. Jahan hoye Krishna, jahan hoye Surya, taha nahi Mayar adhikar. Maya cannot enter here. So it's like sun. All the darkness goes away. Another example is Yatha Tamo Arko, the darkness by sun, and Brahmi, as in clouds. If the clouds have covered the sun, somebody says, Prabhu, sun is out, but clouds have covered the sun. What to do with that? And then Supreme Lord says, I will send Hanuman. The Vayu Devta will come. The wind god will come. If somebody is trying to put some clouds on you. Sun, okay, I was depending on sun, but sun is covered, no matter. Brahmi iva atti vata. Atti means very strong. Vata is wind. Very strong wind, they will drive away the clouds and sun will come out and all the darkness will go. So pravishya chitte. He enters your consciousness and cleans vyasnam, all your desires. Yeah. So that's how the process works. It enters. So living entity, basically. So the whole process is about clearing the consciousness. So now Bhagavan Kapil Dev, we have understood that now. It is all because of the desires. Now Bhagavan Kapil Dev is trying to explain to Mother Devhuti how the Gyan Margis do this, how they progress. So in the first 5 verses of 27th chapter, Bhagavan Kapil Dev explains the Jiva in the conditioned state. Or rather, he clarifies why there is a need for liberation. The first thing is why? Why do you need the liberation? So Bhagavan says, Prakrite sthito api purusha na jayate prakritir gunai. Prakrite sthito api. Even though the living entity is staying in this material world, na jayate prakritir gunai. He cannot be taken over by the material modes of nature. He cannot be. Why? He gives another example. He says because that living entity is avikarat, not changing, eternal. Living entity does not change. Jiva does not change. Avikarat, niragunutvat, and the living entity is eternal, unchangeable, beyond the material modes of nature. Avikarat, niragunutvat, akartritvat. Also, he is not the doer. He is also not the doer. Right? And then he gives an analogy. Yatha ark jala, jalavat. As sun in the water. Now understand this. He clarifies. He says the living entity is not entangled. He cannot be taken over by the material modes of nature because here it is only shadow. He says like a shadow of sun in the water. If water, there are waves in the water. Is sun waving? Is sun shaking? No. It is only the shadow. Sun is unaffected. It is only the shadow which we see in the water. If there are quivers in the water, there are waves. You see sun deflecting and this and that. But sun is unaffected. So similarly, Lord Kapil Dev says the Jiva living entity is unaffected. But Sa Esha, but that same living entity, when that living entity has desires, there is a little freedom. You need to understand this concept. There is a little freedom for the living entity. And Krishna does not interfere with that freedom. With that freedom, when that living entity desires to enjoy or desires to do something without Krishna, that is why you started, it was Mahat Tattva. It was all pure consciousness. But then false ego comes in. So to stay at that level, Mahat Tattva level, you have to continuously perform your sadhana. It is like you have to eat 3 times a day to stay healthy, right? You can't say, okay, I will eat once a week and I'll stay healthy. Similarly, this is also our very important thing for the soul. Like food for the body, chanting is for the soul. So we have to stay at that level. To stay at that level, we have to perform certain activities regularly, right? It's like to keep your job, you have to be in the office. To pay your mortgage, you have to earn some money. Very simple concept to understand. But the only difference is we don't see Mother Nature, we don't see Krishna personally, we see our manager personally. So we get scared of him. Oh, here comes the crook. Oh, as in like if his email comes, that is as good as crook coming in front of you, right? right? His call coming, his text message coming, all that. But Krishna doesn't come. So we take it for granted. Oh, koi nahi dekh raha, nobody see, right? We don't do that. We only do. There were two devotees, they were fighting. This is a real story. There was an argument happened, and one person, he spoke something rudely to this person. He abused him or some rude words. And he was telling me, look, please don't bad language to me with me. He said, kya kar loge? What will you do? He said, look, please don't use bad language to me. Even I can give it back to you. Then he said, okay, give it back to me. And then he says, ye kanthi mala nahi pehna hota na. If I was not wearing this kanthi mala, I would have shown you what I can do. He said, come on, what can you show? Real fighting in the village. Happy. And then he said, okay. Then he took off his kanthi mala, put it here, and then he started giving it back to him. Oh. Okay, you want this? Now take it back. Real. So you see, so the opportunity comes. He said, okay, now I'll show you. So Jiva Atma, the living entity, it has nothing to do with akartvat, nirgunatvat, like a sun in the water. But Saesh, that same living entity, when that living entity wants to enjoy, right, separately, then he develops that feeling of ahankar, the false ego manifests. Because then you want to do something. To enjoy, to fulfill a desire, you will do some endeavor to fulfill those desires. To do those endeavors, then there will be some interactions. And that's where the action-reaction sequence starts. Through this process, sometimes you achieve, sometimes you lose. When you achieve, then you get that ahankar, look, so intelligent I am. You know, I have learned so much. I'm so smart. I got this work done. That tradie was trying to cheat me, you know, but I knew how to handle him. And that ahankar, that false ego is increasing day by day. All these constructions, all these big buildings, all this so-called material advancement is nothing but an expansion of false ego. Nothing. You have to understand. All of this is false ego. False ego expanding. Materialists, they're forming factories, they Facebook, LinkedIn, as many platforms, whatever you name it. It is an expansion of big temples, yes. Yeah, all expansion of false egos. So then Jeev, when the living entity is doing that, because he has a desire, he now false ego manifests, and then he starts to lord over the things. And then he starts identifying karta aham asmi. He thinks I am the doer. And when he starts connecting himself with that doer mentality, then his sanskriti, then his birth, death, old age and disease cycle starts. And then he starts appearing in higher yonis, in lower yonis. Then he starts taking birth in different yonis as per his karmas, and that cycle starts. And then finally Bhagavan Kapildev then tells Mother Devhuti in the 5th verse that Shanais Chittam, but that living entity, if that living entity slowly, with patience, in the association of devotees, start performing devotional service, start contemplating on the tattvas. This is for the Gnan Marg, by the way. But I want to stress the point again. When we go through certain things now, you will realize, oh, Gyan Marg is as good as Bhakti Marg. Right? There's not much difference. Just the focus, focus, little bit focus. So it's very difficult to discriminate. Yeah. So like this, Bhagavan says in the first 5 verses that that is the need for liberation. Now you understand. So the jiva in the conditioned state. Right? This is the conditioned state, and this is the reason for that conditioned state. And then for that to get over that conditioned state, Bhagavan is saying, Shanai. There is no need to rush 100. There is no need to run 120 per hour. Go at your own pace. Go at your own pace. Take foot. You know, as you are walking in a slippery place, how do you walk? This is slippery. How do you walk? You put your foot, but before you lift your back foot, you make sure your front foot is securely put on the ground. And then when you lift that, then you bring it very securely there. And then you lift it. So that is the process, securely. Not like take off Kantimala and then it's like unleashing a dog. Right? Right? So, yeah. And now Bhagavan tells what they should be doing. So there are various components, like various sections of this chapter. I'll tell you, and then we go through that. So, and then Bhagavan tells attaining liberation by yoga. So we will talk about that. And then he says inferring the presence of the soul and super soul. Because Gyan Marg, you want to infer the presence, you want to understand. Does soul exist? Where is super soul? That's what you are trying to do that. Gnan, you want to get that knowledge. But what Bhagavan is saying, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janniteshu Vairagyam Gnanam Chayat Ahetupam. Then Krishna is saying, if you do devotional service, I give you knowledge automatically. The knowledge comes with the devotional service. But some people first want to know and then believe. Right? One way is you believe. Right? मान लो फिर अपने आप जान जाओगे. You accept the Krishna is there, and then he will give you knowledge. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. He will give you intelligence. But first, some people want intelligence first. Prove to me. Show it to me. Okay? Here is your path. You understand the elements. You understand the position of the jiva. You know, the living entity is just a spark. Keshagre shat bhagasya satansh sadrisha atmata. Shvetashvatara Upanishad, it says, it describes the size of the soul. Keshagra shat bhagasya. Here, tip of the hair, you cut it into 100 pieces. Then shatansh, you take one of those 100 pieces, again make 100 pieces out of that. Sadrisha. Right? Jiva Atma, soul is that minute. Again, sometimes there is a debate where, like, normally Vaishnavas, they don't believe in this size concept. But the Jnanis, their concept is, if the soul is eternal, it has to be unbreakable. If it is breakable, then it is not eternal. Understand? If something is eternal, like atom, the smallest atom, Parmanu, it is called Parmanu. We discussed that when we discussed the time calculation. So the concept, some of the Gyan Marg people, they won't accept it. But Vaishnavas, they say, oh, this is Krishna's Vigraha. They don't believe in that. Some people have this thinking. But that's also right. Bhagavan Krishna has spoken in Gita. He has given this explanation as well. Right? So this is the size of the living entity. This is the size. You can't even see it with your eyes. Right? This is how minute it is, living entity. Yeah? So that is the inferring the presence of the soul and super soul. How do you infer that soul exists? Then soul without material coverings. So you meditate on the soul. I think I've already, when I explained to you those 24 elements, if we understand that, so Jiva has nothing to do with that. Soul is out of those covers. But here Bhagavan again talks about this point, further reinforce that. And then Mother Devhuti will ask question about the rarity of liberation. We'll talk about that. And Bhagavan Kapil then recommends the intense practice, and then Prakriti cannot harm an enlightened soul, and the final liberation of the yogi, which is today's verse. So let's go to the next slide. We are almost running out of time. So please now, in this chapter, now Bhagavan recommends 18 qualities to be cultivated for a yogi who is progressing on the Gyan Marg. This is spoken by Bhagavan Kapil Dev. So he says, Sarva Bhuta Samatvena. I'll just run through them. If you have any questions, you can ask. Sarva Bhuta Samatvena, equality to all the jivas, which is prescribed for devotees also. Like I said in the beginning, you might feel, hey, Prabhu, this is all the devotion. But there is very subtle difference. You will come. Then nirvaira, no enmity. Because if you have all these things, then you won't be able to focus on the tattva. You understand? You won't be able to concentrate on the tattva. Even if you have these desires, you can still do devotion service, and people are doing devotion service with all these qualities, or they are trying to do devotion service with these qualities. But if a jnani is trying to concentrate, his mind won't be stable, right? If you sit 5 minutes, 2 minutes, all the thoughts will come into your mind. Then you say, oh, pack it up. Might as well go and clean the temple. Might as well go and collect the flowers for the deities. Cook something for the Supreme Lord. Right? But for these yogis, Jnana Margs, they have to do this. They have to get to that pure state of consciousness. To see, to focus, discriminate between elements, Prakriti and Purush. For that, they need to have all these qualities. That is the starting point. That is why it is called like walking on the edge of a sword. Yeah. Then aprasanga, no intimate connections also. You don't have to have any intimate connections either. Just normal connection. Then brahmacharya, celibacy. Mauna, being grave. Really grave. Mauna as in mauning, chinta karna, chintan karna. Thinking, contemplating, right? Swadharmena baliyasa, offering results of one's activities to the Lord. 100%. Devotees, sometimes so-called devotees, we take credit. So many times people take credit. They may do small things, they like to hear their glories. Prabhu, thoda aur bataiye, please speak. I didn't hear what you were saying. Prabhu, you did such a wonderful service. Oh, Prabhu, I am just a servant at your lotus feet. Prabhu, I am just a dust particle, Prabhu. And then in his heart, he's like, Laddu food rahe. Please speak a little bit more. Then he will try to be humble and other person will glorify him further. So both are boosting each other's egos. And both are going to go to their next destination. Where they know, only they know. Right? That's how devotees. But still they survive. That's the point I'm trying. Still they survive because Supreme Lord still merciful to them. He says, at least he is coming to the temple. At least he is bringing some bhoga for me. That's why for those people only Krishna saying, Patram Pushpam Phalam Tayam. Okay, at least offer me a leaf. I will be happy. It's like एक बाप की कोई निकम्मी संतान हो जाए, वो आके उसको नमस्ते राम राम बोल दे, वो बोलेगा ठीक है बेटे, बहुत खुश, I'm so happy. You came and a father has a rowdy child and he comes and says hello, namaste. Like sometimes you hear people say, oh, my son came on Father's Day, he gave me a bouquet. Oh, so happy. At least bouquet to diya. Similarly, Lord is also merciful. Okay, at least he is coming. But Gyan Marg, no. They will fail straight away. They cannot progress even one step. That is why this is so difficult to understand. They have to 100%. No, this. Yadrichaya uplabdhena santosho. Satisfaction with what comes of its own accord. Just be satisfied. Mitbhuk, regulated eating. In the next chapter, when Srila Prabhupada talks about Ashtanga Yogi, so their eating is described as, Prabhupada says they should eat half stomach, the food half stomach, 25% for water and 25% for air. That is for Ashtanga Yogis. For devotees, they say, Vyas Puja, eat unlimited. Paneer, unlimited. Gulab Jamun, unlimited. There is the devotee and they still want to attain the Supreme Lord. Isn't it? But for Jnanis, myth, very, very, very regulated eating. Because otherwise they won't be able to concentrate. The mind will run here and there. Right? Muni, thoughtful. Always thoughtful. Then Vivikta Sharana, living in a secluded place. Once again, these Jnanis, they have to go and live away. Because they have to control. Very difficult for them. Anytime if something happens, right? So they have to live in a secluded place. Shanto, Maitra, Karuna, Atmavan, peaceful, friendly, compassionate, self-possessed, and determined. Strong determination. No, they cannot. They cannot fault. They cannot default at all. It's like a pilot. Pilot default, life gone. So that's how the Gyan Marg is. They can. Then Sanubandhe cha dehe asmin akurvan asad agrahim. No bodily identification or attraction for bodily relationships. And then Gnanena Drishta Tattvena, now Diksi. After doing all of this, then you get the knowledge. Gnanena Drishta Tattvena. After you have done all these previous things, then you are able to discriminate between Tattva. Then you are able to see these are 24 elements. This is all material nature. What am I doing as a Jiva? This is not my position. Why am I entangled into this? Maybe I need to purify my desires, thoughts. That's when, then you get Tattva-Gyan. Tattva-Vittu Mahabaho. Guna-Karma Vibhagayo. 3.28 Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan is saying. After he says about Prakriti doing, then he says, then Arjuna, as if Arjuna is asking, then my dear Lord, then how does people understand this? Then he says, Tattva-Vit. People who knows the Tattva, people who knows the fundamental elements, they, Guna Karma Vibhagayo. They understand the difference between working in devotion and working for material gains. Because they have understood that, they have understood the fundamental principles. By understanding that, what they do? Guna Guneshu Vartante Na Sajjate. Guna Guneshu Vartante. They stay away from the modes or from the senses and the sense objects. Guna Guneshu Vartante. Na Sajjate. Then they don't engage themselves. But here Bhagavan Kapil Dev says, Abhi Vishajjate. In the second verse, he says, this living entity, Sa Esha, Na Jayate Prakritir Guna. He cannot be overcome by the material modes, but Sa Esha, Abhi Vishajjate. He entangles, he wants the desires and he involves it. So, Tat, transcendenting the three stages of material consciousness and seeing the reality by realized knowledge of spirit and matter. Prakate Purushasya. Prakriti and Purush, difference, very important. Living entity and matter. Okay? Then you understand. After that, being aloof from all other conceptions of life, then you are able to, become aloof. And then you become self-realized. Now, as Bhagavan spoke all of this, and then after this, he speaks about that you should be able to realize, see the soul and the super soul. He gives an example. He says how when you see the shadow of sun, shadow of water on a wall, you infer the sun exists. Just visualize the sun is showing in the water, and there is shadow of water on the wall. If you just look at the wall, you see there are waves on the wall, and you see it's moving. Then you can infer the sun exists. Without looking at the sun, you can say there is sun. Even looking at the water also, but he's giving you another third perspective, 3 degrees if you like. Seeing on the wall, you can say sun exists. Similarly, he says soul's existence. Through these material gunas, the senses, right? You can infer that the soul exists. In the last chapter, last time we discussed, all the demigods, they tried to wake up the Virat Purush. Na udatishta tada Virat. Na udatishta tada Virat. The fire god entered into the mouth. Vishnu, Upendra, he entered into the legs with the Tanmatra, right? Varun Devta entered, the ocean entered into the stomach, but the Supreme Lord, Virat, did not wake up. Na udatishta tada Virat. But as soon as the Chetana, right? Chittena Hridaya Chaitya Kshetragna Pravishad Yada Pravishad Chittena Chaitya Hridaya Kshetragna Pravishad Yada. As soon as the Vasudev, who is the presiding deity of consciousness, entered into the body of the Virat. Then it says, Virat Tadaiva Purusha Salilad Udatishtata. Then immediately the Virat Purush from the water, he stood up. And he gives an analogy like Yatha Prasuptam Purusham Pranendriya Mano Dhiya. Pran Indriya Man Dhiya. Pran, life air. Indriya, senses. Man as in mind. Dhiya as in intelligence. Prasuptam Purusham, somebody sleeping. Yatha Prasuptam Purusham. As a sleeping person, Prabhavanti Vinayena. Right? Na Uthapaitum Ojasa. Without the consciousness, without the Vasudev, without the super soul, without the presence of the super soul, a body is lying, it is lying a dead body. Until the consciousness awakes. Who do you think awakes in the morning? You know, it's the super soul, the presence of Vasudev inside. That's what awakes you. So Bhagavan is telling Mother Devhuti that you should infer the presence of soul. Similarly, you should also infer the presence of super soul. So this is a different, this is a technical way of understanding. You know, you're trying to break, reverse engineer the whole thing, and you're trying to understand the creation like that. Some people they enjoy that. And after speaking like this, now Mother Devhuti poses a question. He says, my dear Lord, you have explained to me, but I still have a doubt. He says, you are telling me that Prakriti and Purush, first you said, if you remember in the previous chapter, right, we spoke about Prakriti is dependent on Purush. Prakriti's existence is because of Purush. So Mother Devhuti says, if Prakriti is present because of Purush, and then living entity is connected with Purush, they are inseparable. Then how can this knowledge manifest? And she gives an example. It is as if the taste in the water. As long as there is water, the taste will be there. As long as Prakriti is there, the Jiva will be engulfed into the modes of nature. How can they be separated? As long as Mother Earth is there, the smell will be there. So if that Prakriti is relying on Purush, super soul, so then it is very difficult, my dear Lord, for soul to be separated. Ul Badam Bhayam, this greatest fear, even if somehow the living entity is able to detach itself for a moment from Prakriti, but this will again go and catch it. It is like a Gajasnan. You know how elephant goes into the water, he washes himself. As soon as he comes out, he picks up the dust and throws the dust on his own body. So she says, it's very difficult, my dear Lord. Like I was telling you about that devotee. He took his kantimala off and now I will show you. Right? So that thing will come back. You understand the question? You understand the question? They are inseparable. As long as the living entity is here, why they come here is one side. But as long as they are here, they are so strongly anyo upashraya. They are both dependent on each other. How can they be separated? And even if somehow a living entity is able to do it, but I have a fear, he will again be caught hold by the Maya. Understand? Now Bhagavan Kapil Dev says, yes, my dear mother, I understand. But for that, now he will break further down. He will unzip these practice that he's spoken about. Now he will further speak on. Then he says, my dear mother, Tivra Bhakti, one can get liberation by intense practice. That includes. Here one important point to note. Bhagavan Kapil Dev could have said, my dear mother, that's why I was telling you. You should follow Bhakti Marg. Why are you asking about the Gyan Marg? So he's not refuting. He's not biased. You understand? He could have easily said, that's why, mother, I'm telling you. Go to the temple, chant 16 rounds. Why are you, asking so much? Why are you so much worried about Gyan? About this tattva, about understanding Prakriti Purush? But he's answering. He's showing the path because there are some living entities who wants that. They have their own destination. So then he says, for them, this is how they should progress, my dear mother. Tivra Bhakti. Tivra Bhakti is mean spontaneous, with intense devotional service. They can achieve liberation. He's not refuting. So he says intense bhakti for a long time. Tivraya bhaktaya chiram. Long time. Gyan Marg, you understand. They have to sit for a long hours. They have to perform certain activities for a long time. Now you can say devotees also have to do, Vaishnavas also have to, but this is a different march. So they have, if they are going into that path, they are inferring, they are understanding the tattvas, so they have to perform that same activity for a long time. That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bahu nam janmanam ante jnanvan mam prapadyate. Bahu nam janmanam ante. After many lifetimes, jnanvan, who are after the jnana, who are hankering for knowledge. Yes, they also come back, but bahuna, many lifetimes. And here also Bhagavan Kapil Dev will say that. So they have to perform this activity for a long time, but they enjoy it. Don't look at them in a different way, in a biased way. They enjoy this. This is their enjoyment as a living entity. This is their mood. What is wrong with it? Some of you like to do kirtan, some of you like to cook, some of you like to make garlands, some of you like to, prepare prasadam, some of you like to decorate a place, some of you like to serve the devotees. You have your own desires. There is no difference. Yeah, understand? And then he says, without desire for fruitive results, animitta nimittena. Nimit means doing something. And what is the nimit of doing something? Not to have a desire. Like Prahlad Maharaj, when he told Bhagwan Narsimdev said, ask for a boon. He said, I don't want a boon. He said, no, ask for a boon. Okay, give me a boon so that I should not ask for a boon. So you're doing activity, nimit, but for a nimitten. For that purpose, you have to do that. Now, in the devotion service, we always have a nimit. People always have some, ulterior desires. I mean, I'm talking about the people who are starting. But for them, progress still happens. But in this mark, Prabhuji Mata, very difficult. Very strict guidelines are there. So you have to, so that you can make a decision. Bhagavan Kapil Dev says this mark is also possible. It depends on your personal swadharmena, perfectly situated in your religious, in your position. If you are a Kshatriya, stay in the Kshatriya position. You know how Arjun was saying, I want to go and beg. Krishna said, are you joking? You are a Kshatriya. You telling me now you are happy to beg. He said, go to 2 doorsteps. And if you get refused by the owner of the house, 3rd house, you will take your bow and arrow. How can you say no to me? I'm Arjun. He said, your Kshatriya dharma will come out. So don't try to change over. Stay in your dharma. Apne jo position hai, usme sthit ho. Then nourishment by hearing about me. See, Shrut Sambhritaya. Even Gnanis, they have to hear about me. Mad Bhakta, they have to be my devotee. Right? It can't be you just sit in isolation and analyzing the Prakriti and Purush that you can understand and attain. No. The mercy is required. Yes? Nourish. Then perfect knowledge and detachment. Gnan Vairagyena. Knowledge endowed with detachment. Not just knowledge, with detachment. Sometimes we have knowledge and then we get so proud of the knowledge. There is still some attachment there. Vairagya is very important. Yeah. Then austerity, yoga, and self-absorption. Tapo yuktena yogena. Yeah. And tivra atma samadhina. Samadhi. Ashtanga yoga is also there. Shraddha, Rati, Prem, etc. The whole process, they have to do all of that. Get to the stage of Samadhi. They have to do that. By thus practicing, now he says, question was, how can a living entity who is entangled, anya upashraya, Prakriti exists, Jeev's existence is because of Prakriti. Because this world is created by the Supreme Lord, because we had a desire to enjoy. So he created it for us. And now we are dependent on that. The Jiva is dependent on that. And Prakriti is dependent on Jiva or the Purush. How can they be separated? But Bhagavan says there is a way. That is why the Linga Sharir, Jarritya Ashu, Ya Kosha, that's why Bhagavan is saying that Kosh, that Linga Sharir can be burned. Lingat vinirgame, today's words. And by thus practicing seriously, the influence of Prakriti over Jiva can be removed, just as wood sticks that causes a fire are themselves consumed by it. Understand? How a matchstick you take. Matchstick causes the fire, but the same fire burns the matchstick also. Similarly, your linga sharir, your desires, that will be, it is all created. You've got this body because of your desires. But through the same process, through getting detachment from those desires, you can get rid of this linga sharir also. Yeah. And then he says, after this, the jiva is reinstated. Now, by discovering, now he says, bhuktena. Now, through the bhog, through enjoying the material opulence, through that you start seeing differences. It is like, you wanted a house, you got a house. Then you start seeing, am I happy? Have I achieved happiness? I wanted to get married. Am I happy now? Oh, you are all happy. Please don't take otherwise. Because you are all looking after each other, serving husband, serving wife, wife serving husband. Together you are serving Krishna. You are happy. Right? I'm talking about others. You are living a happy married life. Happy and married. But anyway, yeah. So like this, reinstated by discovering the faultiness. You wanted an iPhone, you got an iPhone, then you say, what is the difference? So like this, you start seeing the fault. Not that you become critical, not that you say, yes, sir, Maya hai, not out of frustration. Very important point. Because you can't get an iPhone, you start saying iPhone is useless. No. Right? Not that level of detachment. Real detachment. You see, what is this phone giving me? The phone is just for hearing and speaking, sending message, receiving message. That's the purpose. So you start seeing that's why Prabhupada says, utility is the principle. Utility is the principle. That principle you focus. Otherwise, useless. So you start seeing the fault, and that's how you detach yourself. And then the jiva gets reinstated. Yeah. Swamahimni, in his own glory. The living entity then gets positioned in its own glory. And after the living entity is positioned in its own glory, then it is called a state of awakened. Such a person of discrimination is like an awakened person who is not affected by a dream. Now you are awakened. Of discrimination is, now you are able to discriminate. Yeah. And it is like coming out of a dream. You know how in the dream you get so many, sometime in the dream you see like you are being killed, you are being pushed. I'm sure you have all have some bad dreams. In the dream you are thinking someone is chasing me and you are not able to run. Well, I get a dream most often. I tell my wife, I get a dream as if I'm going to fail my university exam. I don't know why. All the time I get this dream. Yeah. So this dream comes. Sometimes some people tell me, Prabhu, in the dream somebody is trying to hit me and I'm awakened, I'm trying to run, but I'm not able to run. So all these dreams come. So that is an illusion. But this life itself is an illusion as well. You understand? This is also an illusion. The so-called feeling of happiness, fulfilling of desires, but through discrimination, through this process. Now you see Gyan Marg. So this is how Gyanis come to this conclusion. Whereas devotees, they just go and bow down in front of the God. Krishna, I'm yours, you are mine. Please, please, please look after me. Please look after me. Or if you have a guru, your guru takes you back to Godhead. Guru takes guarantee. Guru helps you that. So like that. Yeah? That is a awakened state. And then in that state, the Prakriti cannot harm him because he knows the absolute truth or the elements. Now Prakriti, he has understood. Prakriti is what? Material nature. So Jeev now understand. You understand now? You can go back to same Gulab Jamun example. The Jiva has nothing to do with it. It's all done by the Prakriti. So how can Prakriti affect you? How can storm, how can floods, how can fires affect? Doesn't mean you go and jump in the ocean or stand in the fire. Right? But the living entity is not affected. But we use this body as a vehicle to perform devotional service. Understand? We still look after this body, because in this body, as you saw the description of Virat Purush, all the demigods are inside this body. So this is a vehicle to go back to the Supreme Lord, not to serve this body. That is the whole point. Bhogana bhukta vayameva bhukta, tapona tapta vayameva tapta, kalona yato vayameva yato. Yeah? Trishna na jirna vayameva jirna. Bhartrihari, he is from Madhya Pradesh. He has written 100 shlokas, right, on Vairagya. And in this verse, he is saying, Bhogana bhukta vayameva bhukta. You are aap bhogon ko nahi bhog rahe hain. You are not enjoying the bhogas. The bhogas are enjoying you. You are not enjoying the sweets. The sugar is enjoying you. Bhogana bhukta vayameva bhukta. Tapona tapta vayameva tapta. All these austerities, so-called austerities, building a house, creating, wealth, etc., that you are doing, if it is not meant to serve Krishna, if it is not meant to enhance your devotional service, then it's just tapta. You are doing austerity. Your body is so-called. That is not the austerity. Kalo na yato vayameva yato. Time is not passing. Like we say, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. 50th birthday, 70th birthday. What does it mean? You have become 70 years less. Time hasn't passed, but you have become 70 years less. So time is now very close. Right? And finally he says, Trishna na jirna vayameva jirna. Trishna, as in desires, are not becoming less. Jirna ko English में क्या बोलेंगे? English में बताइए. जीर्णा, शरीर जीर्ण शीर्ण हो गया, डेप्रिशिएट, और थोड़ा कठोर, जीर्ण शीर्ण हो गया है, जैसे कपड़ा फट जाता है, torn apart. Your desires are not being torn apart. Your body is being torn apart by fulfilling things. So like this. So you know the absolute truth and you understand the elements now. And then you fix your mind on me. Once again, fix your mind on me. That's Bhagavan is saying. Yeah? Yunjato mai manasam. And then rejoice in the self. Then you become Atmara. Then the soul knows. And you are positioned. Jivara Surup, Krishner Nityadas. Then you are situated in your position. That is why we stress on the point, let's serve Krishna. Let's involve each other in serving the Supreme Lord. And pick whatever service you want to pick. Whatever you are happy to do. Do some service. Very often we take it, I'm doing service, Prabhu, I am obliging you. Prabhu, I did so much service. Come on, this is all nonsense. All you are doing it for Krishna. If you're cooking something, you first cooking for Jagannath, you first cooking for Laddu Gopal, you first cooking for Gaurnitai, and then you distributing to others as a prasad. That's it. So that is the mood. Understand? With that mood, we serve. Right? Rejoice, Atmaram Bhujao. And then self-realization comes. Such as yogi engages in self-realization for many lifetimes with complete detachment from everything. See, this is Gyan Marg. Bhagavan Kapil saying, many lifetimes. Bahunam janmanam ante gnanvan mam prapadyate. That's why Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita. Right? And then, before liberation, then today's verse. What is today's verse? Mad bhakta prati buddhyartho mat prasadena bhuyasa mat prasadena bhuyasa nishreyasam swasamsthanam Kaivallakyam madashrayam prapnoti iha anjasa dhira swadarshanath Chinna samsaya yad gatva na nivarteta yogi lingat vinirgame. So after self-realization, that's when Bhagavan is saying, now as my devotee, right, mat prasadena, by my mercy, right, they are able to go back to their like most beneficial nishreyasam. They are able to go back to that abode which is called Kaivalya and which is Madashram, which is protected by me under my shelter. They achieve that abode, my dear mother, right? Here in this lifetime only, and all their doubts are cleared. How? Swadarshana, because they are self-realized. They have seen the self. They understand the difference between Prakriti and Purush. And they realize their position, soul, super soul, and Prakriti. So they understand that. By understand that, my dear mother, yad gatvana nivartete. By going there, they don't have to come back. And how they go there? Yogi lingat vinirgama. Their linga sharir, their subtle body gets destroyed, and they come back. And finally, he gives a word of caution. He says liberation. When his heart is no longer attracted to the byproducts of yoga. You know, yoga, people who perform yoga, they get very siddhis. Siddhis is very perfection. They can become smaller than the smallest. They can become bigger than the biggest. They can appear anywhere. All these siddhis, they come. All these siddhis come by yoga practice only. So he says, my dear mother, they perform the yoga, but they don't get attracted to the perfections that they achieve by performing the yoga. That's how they achieve liberation. They are not attached to the fruits of the labor. That's what Bhagavan Krishna is saying. Yeah, karmanye va adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadach. Karmanyam ev adhikaraste. You only have certainly. You only have right to perform the action. Adhikaraste. You have adhikar to perform your activities. Ma phaleshu kadach. Ma means not. Never fall the fruit of your activities. You don't deserve to ask for that or should not ask for that. But you have a right to perform the action. So perform your actions with that. And then you can achieve liberation. So this is how Prabhuji Mataji, the yogis, they achieve the liberation. This is what Bhagavan Kapil Dev has described to Mother Devhuti. So now we will stop here, right? It's almost 8 o'clock. What can I do? Please forgive me if the class got a bit extended. Right? But I hope it was very helpful, and we will stop here now. Kavita Mataji will stop. Sorry, Mataji, I could not. I don't know. There was some problem with my laptop. The RAM is short. Maybe next year I will bring a different laptop. Yeah, and then you can see the slides. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, Prabhuji, Mataji. Any question, Prashn?